Hey everybody, welcome back. It's Alyssa here with Ashley.
Hello.
So excited to be back. This will be episode 10, I'm pretty sure, or 9.
10 or 11, depending which
Yeah,
order this all comes
we
out.
don't know what order it's going to come in, but we're getting up there in episodes.
Yeah.
So we're
It's,
like
it's a
really
good
proud of
problem to
ourselves.
have.
Yes,
Yes,
exactly.
absolutely.
So, in case you're new here, welcome to the Hustle and Harmony podcast. We are all about teaching you how to find harmony in the hustle and bustle of life. If you're here, it might be because you're a mom, a working mom, a stay-at-home mom. You're just somebody who's just seeking more harmony in your
Hmm.
life. And so, if that's you, we're your girls. And today we're tackling the topic of we're calling this summer soundtracks. Like, what are we listening to, reading, speaking over ourselves, and how that kind of makes an impact in your daily life and helps to shift your mindset. So, the reason why we thought this topic would be good for this time of year is because it's summer. And a lot of times, summer doesn't have a whole lot of harmony, or it is a little more chaotic because things are going. And so, this just helps everyone to just kind of stay in that mindset of whatever you personally need at that time. So that's kind of what we're hoping that you get a little bit out of this. And so we're going to focus on what's currently on our playlists, what's in our earbuds, and what's on our bookshelves that maybe we're reading or that we're listening to, and why it matters, because really taking the time to do that at some point each day really can make a big difference. And we're going to really talk about the power of consuming content that really aligns with your vision. So, are you excited about this topic, Ashley?
I'm excited. I'm here for it. I'm ready.
Yay, we're
Yes.
excited too. Hold on, I have a child here. Yes. To where?
Real
What am I
life,
doing? I'm
folks.
going with
This is living.
Yes, it's
This is the
summertime.
working mom's battle every day.
Yes, exactly. I'm like, oh my gosh. Okay, so
Yes,
we are going to get right into our
let's do
first.
it.
We're just going to dive in, okay? And we're just going to talk first about why your mindset matters. So, you know, I think one of the biggest things that I've learned over the last couple of years is how what you feed your brain daily and like how important that really is. And so do you find that to be true, Ashley? Like, I know for me, I stopped watching the news a long time ago because
Yeah.
that negative like spin of the news was getting me. Like I couldn't handle it. Couldn't take that. So that was a change that I had to make. But how having that positive daily like reinforcement is just really important. So do you
Yeah,
feel like that's been important for you too?
absolutely. And I think I heard something along the way. I can't remember the magic number, but it's something to the effect of, you become the product of what the four or five people that you surround yourself with the most.
Mm-hmm.
And for someone that lives in the virtual world, like we both do, right? We're working from home. It doesn't necessarily mean like the people you physically spend the most time with. I look at it, I've always looked at it as who am I hearing and surrounding myself with mentally
Right.
every day? And so
Yes.
that's always been in the back of my mind of, okay, if this is how I want to show up, I need to surround myself with people that show up in that way
Right.
or embody those characteristics or things like that, right? So that it feeds
Mhm.
into me or rubs off on me. So
Yes.
same thing as you, I swore off news years ago. I mean, of course, it still creeps up. You can't avoid everything, but in terms of intentionally sitting down in front of it and just feeding into it,
Mm-hmm.
it just doesn't do me any favors, right?
Yes.
So I think news also, even certain people on social media and things like that, that tend to have that negative view or they're always in that mindset, ignoring those folks or
Right.
muting those folks, anything that I feel like just not here for it. Like I don't want it to be a part of my daily intake. I've tried to numb out as much as possible or mute as
Yes.
much as possible for sure.
Yes.
So
I totally agree. And, I think that sometimes um, we don't even realize like how something can be negatively affecting us. Like even down to social media. Like when there's a lot going on in the world, sometimes I have to find myself taking a step back from scrolling
Mm,
because like if there's a lot going on politically or just different things going on in the world, like I cannot feed that into my brain because it really, really starts to affect me. And I do get anxiety, and I find that some of those things will trigger little mini like anxiety episodes, especially before bed. Like if I'm feeding that kind of
hmm.
energy to myself before bed, it is just not a good thing at all. So it
Yeah,
really is important for.
absolutely. And I think even outside of the news, social media, even other forms of content that are distracting
Mhm.
also can have a negative impact on your mindset or just how you're showing up in life, I guess, right? And so I equate this to, over the winter, I kind of call it my dark December, where I always kind of go through this funk when
Yes.
it gets dark outside. It's the seasonal depression. I have it every year. I'm determined this year I'm gonna figure it out so it's not quite as apparent, I guess. But anyway, I was very aware that when I was going through that this past December, I was watching a lot of Netflix. You know what I mean? And in times when I typically would listen to a podcast or an audiobook or something like that, I was choosing to listen to a series, which was fun and entertaining and great, right? It was
Yes.
like an escape. But after so much of that, it starts to like weigh me down, right?
Yes.
Because I'm just not showing up in the same way as I am when I'm
Yep.
feeding myself with like encouragement and inspiration and all of
Mhm.
those things. So it's not even like it's bad, negative stuff. It's just things that don't really support the way in which I want to show up.
Right. Right. So for me, um, I think too, with things that have been going on, like I just, so I'll just give examples. The Karen Reed trial,
Mm,
the Diddy trial, like I could get consumed in those things.
hmm.
Not good for me.
Yeah,
Not good at all. I don't know. Like it's just,
I
and then
get
I
it.
go down a rabbit hole. And then I realize when I'm done like reading about it or consuming information about it, it's like I don't know if I can read any more of this. Like it just puts me in a different headspace that I do not want to be in. So
Absolutely.
then I find like, all right, I gotta find something that I'm gonna listen to, like an Audible book or something that is good, that's gonna feed my brain goodness, that's gonna get me like motivated and excited about my day and about my life and just
Yeah,
out of that headspace. So
absolutely.
that's what we're gonna talk about today.
Yes.
So next thing we want to jump into is like what are our things that we read, listen to, how do we incorporate that in? So, is there anything, Ashley, for you that recently or within the last year you read or listened to or found to be really helpful in terms of like podcasts that you think would help
Hmm.
our listeners too?
Yeah, I mean, so thinking of podcasts first, I really have two that I've been listening to for years now that are my go-tos and that I love. The first one is called Fire and Soul with Michelle Sorrow. And that podcast it's evolved over time with her as well. It's been, I mean, over 5 years since I think she's had the podcast, and I listened to it very early on, which was very like mindset oriented and things like that. And it's shifted a little bit. It is focused around like spiritual awakening and, leadership is a big piece of it, and really just, you know, women going through transformational changes and evolving throughout their life. And I think she considers herself some type of spiritual mentor or guide, right? So she always has a lot of interesting guests on, just coming to explore different themes. And so I love to listen to that because it's interesting, it's inspiring, all of those things that we've talked about, right? So and through that podcast, I've discovered a lot of other people and topics and things like that. So I love that one still to this day. And actually, through that podcast, I found another one that I'm going to mention, which is Uncover Your Magic with Ashley Goner. And that's another one that I have always up and ready, when I'm in the mood for listening to something inspirational. She is, and actually, we are hoping to get her on the podcast. A little spoiler alert, right? Or a little plug. Let's put that out into the universe for our listeners. But Ashley, she also has guests on and really just does interview style format to understand or kind of hear from their own experiences that have, again, gone through transformations, have grown, have evolved in their life, and have uncovered their own gifts throughout the process, right?
Right.
That maybe they didn't have earlier on, that they've discovered as they grow older and things like that. So again, it's just a lot of deep conversations, learning about people and experiences, and that's the stuff that I love to listen to. So those
Mhm.
are my two go-tos in terms of podcasts.
All right.
What about you?
So I love anything leadership related,
Mm.
and I love when it aligns with my faith. So I'm a huge fan of Craig Groeschel's leadership podcast. It's so good. If you're a leader in any capacity, like at work or within an organization or whatever, I find it to be just so helpful. Just with thoughts about like how the world is, working right now, like how things are going and how, because leadership is always ever evolving because it changes as the world changes. And so I just find the information that he shares to be so awesome, and just how to communicate best with people, and just creating that
Mm.
esprit de corps with others who you're leading. So I love Craig Rochelle's podcast. And then I more recently found another podcast that I listened to on YouTube, and her name is Terry Savelle Foy, is her name. And she has this great podcast. Actually, I listened to one today, and they're like short, so I like it. They're about 15
Mm.
minutes. The one I listened to today was how to build
So not like
discipline.
our podcast
Not
episode.
like ours. Ours is a little longer than that. You need like maybe a car drive to work and home, depending on
Yeah.
how long it takes you to get there. But this one was how to build discipline that sticks, because I have found myself
Ooh.
procrastinating when I don't want to procrastinate. So I
Hmm.
think one of the big things to think about is whenever you are thinking about a podcast that you want to listen to, okay? And we're not talking like true crime podcasts, or
Yeah.
we're talking about self-development, like helping you to be the best version of yourself, things that you're listening to. And so, um, if there's an area of yourself that you really want to work on, search topics around that. And
Hmm.
tons of different stuff will pop up, I think, and you'll find it to be great. Now, if I like want a laugh or something, and I'm a sports person, I love sports. So even before Travis Kelce dated Taylor Swift, I loved the New Heights podcast because I
Mm.
like sports and I find them to be funny. So it was just like lighthearted, kind of
Yeah.
mindless listening, which I think sometimes those things
Yeah, absolutely.
are important too. And I actually also like Kylie Kelsey's podcast, the Not Gonna Lie podcast for moms, because it's just
Oh,
funny
okay.
and lighthearted. And so, there's things you're gonna listen to that are more serious, and then there's things that you're gonna listen to that are more fun. But
Hmm.
definitely not something that's gonna put you in like a place of like, oh gosh, I need to get out of this mindset.
Right. A spiral of any
Yes, a spiral of
sort.
any sort. Um,
Absolutely.
so that's a podcast. So how about
Yes.
books? Do you
Okay.
read? Are you a
So
reader?
books. So, I was laughing when I saw the topic for today, right? And thinking through what I was going to talk about or some ideas coming into it. So, yes, you mentioned spiritual development, and I have something to admit here on the podcast and to you is I am a personal development junkie. And
Yes,
when it comes to books and audiobooks,
yes,
I buy so many of them and
yes.
I don't finish any of them pretty
I know.
much. So I'm horrible for that. But there's so many good ones out there. And a couple right now that either there are a few that I have started, and there are some that I listened to earlier on. Like if anyone's interested in exploring this in terms of like this may be new to them. So one that I got recently actually was, and I had started listening to it on the way to Colorado, and again, haven't finished it. It's called Resurrecting Jesus, actually. It's by someone called Adi Ashanti, and I am not like I don't practice organized religion, I guess you would call it, in this season of my life. Like I don't go to church and things like that, but love Jesus and God, and I'm very curious just about learning more, right? In terms of them as people or Jesus as a person. And so that book in particular, it looks at more of the historical lens of Jesus and understanding how he showed up in the world or his lessons and teachings from that time, almost in, how he was a modern mystic in his days and things like that. So it's looking at him through a different lens, which I just find interesting and cool, when you want to learn some more. But then some of my favorite personal development ones that I have on audio are Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself by Joe Dispenza and something I listened to a while ago, but Seven Spiritual Laws of Success by Deepak Chopra was another one, I think an easy listen to. And then a fun one, which was that I really enjoyed, is called You Are a Badass by Jen Sincero,
I have that one too.
which is more around like the law of attraction and stuff like that. That one was funny and entertaining, but also uplifting and inspiring. So that's a
Mhm.
fun one to start with if you're looking for something.
Yes.
So I would just say things that either intrigue you or interest you, like, oh, that sounds like something that'd be cool to learn more about, or like you said, certain topics like the habits one, right, is all around about rewiring your brain and stuff like that. So those are a couple. I mean, I have a whole list in my audio or my Audible app, of course, but there were a couple of them. What
Same.
about you?
So, so first of all, just going back to, I never heard of that book by Joe Dispenza, but
Oh,
he's all about like your subconscious, I
yes.
think, and like, so it's like scientific that you can
Yes.
retrain your
Which
brain.
is makes it so interesting. He
Yes.
gives like scientific proof around it, which is really cool.
Yeah, and I love that because I'm like, oh, I can retrain my brain. That's awesome. Tell me
Yeah.
more. So I've actually listened to him on other people's podcasts because I've
Oh,
heard
okay.
people mention him, but I've not heard of the book. So I'll have to jot that down to add to my
Yep.
list of self-help books. But if you go in my bedroom, my bookshelf is pretty much all self-help books and devotionals. Like
Yeah.
that is what you will find there.
Yeah, that's
But
what I'm looking at over there behind my monitor is my bookshelf with the same, and I pulled a couple out here of the
yeah,
non-audible ones to
yeah.
reference today too.
So, some of my favorite books are Atomic Habits by James Clear. So
That's a
if
good
you're
one. I have that
someone,
on Audible.
yep,
Hmm.
if you're someone who struggles with like discipline and just getting in the habit of having like daily habits that you are consistent in. I found his tricks on habit stacking to be so helpful. So I absolutely loved that book. Another book that I loved and was super helpful was The Miracle Morning by Hal Elrod. And then he also has another book called The Miracle Equation. And it's how you can achieve anything with unwavering faith and something else. I forgot what the other word is, but that was such a good book. I loved it. Right now, I'm reading Visioneering, and I forget the author's name. I had the book sitting here, but now I don't see it. But Visioneering, it's all about understanding how to understand God's blueprint for your life, like how to truly follow your God-given vision. And I just
Oh,
find it
cool.
so interesting to like just reflect and like
Mhm.
write down like it asks you questions and then you can like reflect on it and answer. And so I love that. And then another book I'm reading right now with a group of people is Think and Grow Rich, which is an
Yeah.
old book, but it's again like law of attraction stuff,
Hmm.
kind of thought process. Now this is the workbook. I'm actually
I've heard of
listening.
that one a lot. I feel like I have that on Audible too. Maybe not, but I have not
Yeah.
dove into it. So
Yep.
you'll have to let me know what you think.
Yeah, and then one of my all-time favorite books that really changed the game for me, like in my career, was it's I don't even know if it's a bestseller, but it's called Warrior Magnificent, and it's by she at the time she wrote the book. I think her last name was Jamie Verinios. And
Hmm.
I just, it was not a long book, so it was short, so that was good for me because, like you, I start a book and I don't finish it.
Hmm.
I'm like so guilty of that. I'll be like, yeah, that book was so good, but don't ask me about chapter 13 because
Yeah.
I guarantee I didn't get
Right.
there. Um, but it was just her story of how she overcame things in her life and just like turned that into, a good life. I don't know. It was very good. So those are the books that
Yeah.
I have right now. We'd love
Yeah.
for you to share what books you're personally reading right now.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'll share a couple more that I have here in physical form. So I am more of an Audible person, but every once in a while I'll also get a text where I know that I want to be able to have it in my hands and really look at it or take notes or, have it as part of a practice a little bit. So
Hmm.
one and I haven't read this in years now, but I don't know if I can bring it in here. I started with, it's called The Book of Awakening.
Okay.
And there's a lot, it's basically in the form of daily passages and things like that. Was written by someone who I think he had cancer or something like that. And he was going through a lot, obviously, in his life and started to just jot down different um, things that came to his mind in terms of lessons or reflections about his life and things like that. So it just is a lot of easy passages. I would literally just open it up on any given day. And because they're so short, I would just take whatever one popped out to me as okay, this is what I needed today. Or
Hmm.
what's the message behind it and reflect on it a little bit. So that was kind of cool. Almost you can think about it in a way, some type of devotional, but specific to this guy that wrote it, Mark Nepo, I think is how you pronounce it. And then
Okay.
the other one, which is it's big. I'm curious if you've ever heard of it. A Course in Miracles. Have you heard of
No,
this?
I've never
Oh,
heard of it.
I'm surprised you haven't heard of this one too. This is a lot, so I have not made it through the whole thing. It's it's ginormous. Now there's a workbook in this as well, but it's all about the philosophy of shifting from fear-based mindset to perception of love, and basically looking at everything in life through that lens, and just a lot of different concepts to help you shift your view of reality in that way,
Okay.
just to find more inner peace in your life and see the world through a spiritual lens and through that lens of more love versus fear and and that kind of stuff. So that's another really good one too. But I feel like those are better to have in physical form
Yes.
than Audible. You know what I mean? There definitely are some that I think are easier to listen to versus have a physical copy of. So there's
Great.
so many. There's so many. I'd love, but give us all the suggestions because I could always use more on the bookshelf to
Yes,
start.
absolutely. Is there anything non-self-help that you read? Like I always see on TikTok, they call it like book talk or like I guess it's like women who read like romance novels and stuff, which
I've
I
heard of that.
do not.
I don't really. I mean, I get into like some woo-woo stuff. I have someone like crystals and energy and feng shui and stuff
Right.
like that, right? So it is in a way, I guess, personal development, but not quite. It's
Yeah.
to me that's more fun and
Right.
interesting versus, exercises or practices and to
Right.
incorporate into my daily life and stuff like that. So yeah, not really for me. But I mean, Nick loves to read his mystery, his
Mystery.
mystery
I
stuff,
love James
like
Patterson books.
he loves
They're
that stuff,
yeah.
right? But
I love that.
not
That's so funny.
me.
Um,
There's just
yeah,
not enough time. Like I'm sure I would love it if I sat down and did it,
you have
but
time.
there's only so much
Right.
time in a day, and I'm going to use the time for this stuff. So
Yes, I agree. Now, I know that you don't like you're not in organized, religion or anything right now, but
mhm.
is there any like devotionals or anything like that that you have read or found helpful or even just like a daily, I know you said the book you just talked about, which is like excerpts, but like
Mhm.
just a daily thing that you can read every day?
Not really in book form, although I will say I do have a collection of different, this is going to sound crazy, but different oracle cards
Okay. All right.
that, I will feel drawn to like certain decks that specialize, that are, I don't want to say specialized, but have different meanings or different themes of those decks, right? And so I will sit down and pull a card and take that and reflect on that for the day and kind of read the description and see what it's
Yes.
about and say like, okay, what is this bringing up for me? Like, what am I trying? What should I reflect on about this? Like, how can I take this throughout my day and stuff like that? So it's a
It
little
just
bit of a different
thundered
take on
here
it,
really loud. If you just saw me
but
make a face, it's thundering. And the lightning went
oh,
and then it thundered and I was like caught
I
off
just
guard.
figured a kid was running by.
Nope, I apologize. I'm like, oh my gosh, what was that? Sorry. I didn't know if you
No,
could hear it because it was very, very loud.
I didn't hear it. I didn't hear it. So we're good.
No, I love that. So that's definitely something, and I think for everybody it's something different. For me,
Hmm.
I do a devotional every day. I've gone back and forth with different ones. I love Priscilla Schreier. So if you've never heard of Priscilla Schreier, she's an author. She also was in a movie called The War Room, which is a phenomenal movie if you've never seen it,
Huh.
about the power of prayer. And so she has a devotional called Awakening something. And I loved that. I thought that that was awesome. And I really loved the first five app. I follow Lisa Turkhurst, and she is like part of the Proverbs 31 woman. There's a Proverbs 31 like uh, company, and this is their app. And so
Hmm.
it changes. And I just love that it's like literally a quick 5 minutes because we talked about time. Like when you think about self development, it does take time to develop yourself.
Yes.
And as busy people who are caught up in the hustle and bustle of everything, time is a factor. Like, there are definitely things that we know that we need to do and we want to do to be the best versions of ourselves, but time can really be a factor. So I love that it's just 5 minutes. I'm getting scripture in there and then just like, thoughts about the scripture and then a prayer. So I really love that. That's some things that I kind of tap into every single day. How
Great.
about affirmations? Do you do
Mm.
anything with affirmations daily? Because
I
this,
have in the past more so. I have not been doing them as of late
okay,
consistently. So I've done in the past where I have certain things written on post-its right on my desk or on my computer. Now, I will say I have my vision board over here that I'm looking at that has some affirmations on there. I
okay,
have not been great about like going to it and reading them every day,
yeah,
like I mentioned recently. So I said, I'm like, this is going to be a really good reminder for me.
yes,
That's like, hey, I should probably pick this back up a little bit more.
yeah,
So I do have things on there, when I sat with myself earlier this year and thought about, okay, what am I trying to bring to life right now? What is it that I'm trying to embody over these next, 12 months or something like that? And so
mhm,
there were a couple of affirmations that came up for that. Some that are very simple are I can do this. I'm a natural leader. I inspire others. And, I have some that are a little bit more, that are longer and meatier and things like that. But I
yep,
do have that. I also did pull out, now again, I haven't written in this. Literally, I felt dust on it when I pulled it off my shelf. Okay. So, but I will go through phases when I'm really on it. And every day I wake up, you can't see it, and I write down a whole lot of, you can't, it's not showing up on screen, a whole lot of affirmations, right? That
okay,
I've curated, I'll say, for what I'm working on or trying to
right,
bring more of in my life at that time. And so I'll go through and do that as a daily practice as well. But
yeah,
again, it's all not every day, just
work in
being
progress.
honest and real with the people here.
Yes.
What about you?
So I try to do affirmations as much as possible, but it's definitely an area where I'm not as good as remembering to do it every single day. But
Mhm.
recently, what I heard was that you're supposed to record your own voice saying your affirmations and then listen to it twice a day, in the morning and then before you go to bed. So recently, I made my affirmations. I did ask ChatGPT for some help because I knew
Okay.
what I wanted my affirmations to be, but I just asked it to help me like make
Wordsmith
them,
it.
yeah, like just make
Hmm.
it sound better, put it together better. And so I've been trying to make it a habit to read them at least once a day. Again, that's that habit stacking. Like, yes, I'd love to read it twice a day, but I've not ever been in the practice of that. So I figure if I can consistently start to do it once a day, then once
Hmm.
I feel like I have that muscle down, then I can move to let's try to do this twice a
Don't
day.
overwhelm yourself with
Yes,
expectations.
exactly.
Absolutely.
So I
Yes.
try to keep my expectations of myself a little lower, knowing that I am kind of, I am short on time in the mornings, and also working out and stuff is important to me in the morning. So I have to make sure that I have time for everything. But it's funny because in this Think and Grow Rich book, in the
Hmm.
workbook, it gives you there's like a self-confidence formula that they talk about. And they give you, I think, like six different auto suggestions that you should say to yourself daily every single day. And
Ooh.
it's part of the self-confidence formula. So it's helping to train your subconscious mind. So in the book, it says auto suggestion or repetitive statements of truth is a form of accessing the subconscious mind. The subconscious mind is the chemical laboratory in which all thought impulses are combined and made ready for translation into physical reality. Your subconscious mind can make no distinction between constructive or destructive thought impulses. So that's why it's so important to train your brain to tell it things that are positive or that you want
Hmm.
to see come to fruition because your subconscious doesn't know fear. It doesn't, it doesn't know those things.
And
So,
your subconscious is the one really driving the ship and making
yes,
things happen.
totally driving the ship. So I just think that that's so cool. It says that your subconscious mind will translate it into reality, a thought driven by fear just as readily as it will translate into reality a thought driven by courage or faith. So, the things that we say that are negative or fearful all the time, your subconscious can bring those things to reality. I would much rather positive things come to reality
Yes,
instead of those
definitely.
things. So,
Definitely.
yeah, so those are some things with affirmations, but you might want to consider those of you who are listening, like sharing 2 to 3 personal affirmations or declarations to yourself daily. Again, you can create your own or, chat GPT it. Like, what are some things that are important to you? All right, so let's kind of segue into the next thing. Let's talk about a
Mhm.
simple summer practice. And our thought process on this is like, we want to challenge you guys to carve out 10 intentional minutes a day for positive input. So how do you think, Ashley, that our listeners can make this super doable for themselves, just 10 minutes?
So I think one of the easiest ways to do it is actually, you mentioned earlier the habit stacking. So when you are already, there's things that you're already doing every day. They might not be great things or things that you want to be. There's already things that you're doing, so just incorporate them in there. So something for me is I like to listen to podcasts when I'm prepping dinner or doing stuff in the kitchen after work because I'm definitely in there doing something, getting snacks ready or prepping dinner
Mhm.
or whatever the case is. So I might as well be listening to something,
Yep.
right? So I think habit stacking is a really easy way to do it, whether it's when you're in the kitchen, when you're in the car, if you're at the pool. There's find something very simple where you aren't using your brain in any
Mhm.
significant way, and then just incorporate one of these things.
Yes. Yep. My favorite time to have it stack listening to something positive or motivating or inspiring that I know is going to get me in the headspace I want to be in for the day is when I am getting ready for the day. So, like, while I'm putting my makeup on, while I'm doing my hair, just having that playing. My kids are funny. They'll be like, "What are you listening to now?" Like, because
Yes.
I'm always listening to something. It might be like, a Zoom recording for work that I need to catch up on, but they always tend to be, inspiring in my career. So that's always a good thing to listen to. But I try to make it a point to put something on in some area of self-development that I'm working on to just kind of help me get in the right space for the day. And I find for me that translates into me being more productive that day. Like just me being like overall in a better, mood, ready to
Yeah.
tackle things, feeling empowered instead of feeling whatever the opposite of empowered.
Sluggish or
Yeah.
dreading the day,
Yep.
all that kind of
Yeah.
stuff. Absolutely. That's a great one.
Yeah. And, I think it's important for us to emphasize here that you don't have to do an hour of personal development every single day, right? So think about how we're talking about this. It's like 10 minutes a day consistently. Can
Hmm.
you build that? And so actually, after you listen to this episode, you can go into the description of this, wherever you're listening to it, and you can find a link to a habit tracker that we're going to give you for 10 minutes a day. And I always say attract number grows. So that thought of like crossing something off, like, all right, I did it today. I did my 10 minutes and crossing
Hmm.
that box off, that gives you a sense of accomplishment and actually a little hit of dopamine, which is that feel good hormone in your body that it just makes you feel good that you did something. And it's
I love crossing stuff off a
yeah.
list.
Are you a list crosser outer? Me too.
Yes.
It's
Yes, I am.
yep, I love that.
So good.
It
Feels so
does.
good.
It just feels good. So we hope that that tool will help you. We're excited to give that to you. We thought to ourselves, like, we should start giving you guys some tools. So I think that's like
Yeah.
the first official tool that we're going to give you to help with that. But yeah, guys, it's 10 minutes a day. We're not asking you to like spend your day on developing yourself, but it is really important to become the best version of yourself. So,
Absolutely. And maybe in there we can list out the books that we talked about too,
yep,
the Audible ones
yeah.
and the physical ones, just for easy reference in case any of them sparked a thought in anyone. You have it right there for you in your habit tracker.
Yeah, and share what you're reading or listening to, any great podcasts, books, audibles, what like
There's so many.
there's so
There's
many. So
so
we want
many.
to know what you guys find helpful. Share it with us on social media and tag us in it so that we know that we know what we need to check out that might be
Yes.
able to help us. So do you want to close us out, Ash, with any encouragement?
Yeah. Yeah, I just want to thank everyone again for being here with us and part of our summer series. We hope that you're enjoying it and getting some value. Just want to remind everyone that no matter where you're listening to us, make sure that you like and subscribe. If you can review us and leave us a review, that would be awesome. Helps us get out to more people. Smash, what do we say? Smash the like button,
Smash the
smash
like
the
button.
subscribe, all that good stuff. Leave comments, just share us with anyone that you feel like could benefit from this, just to help us get in front of as many women as possible who are just looking for a little bit more sanity and calm and harmony in their life. We know everyone pretty much is. So we appreciate it and be sure to check us out next time. We'll be back in a couple of weeks.
Yes, see you guys next time. Bye.
Bye.